It's interesting when you're.
I guess I'll call the meeting to order. Would everybody rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That sounded good. That sounded good. I guess we'll start with approving our agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we go to appointments, go into the public hearing now? Or do we do public comment?
Make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second for public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now we go to public comment.
So is Bob on?
Yes, he is.
Okay. We have a Commissioner Schultz who's joined us via Zoom, so, or Teams, whatever you call it.
RS, that's him.
Okay. You wanna-
Do you
So we're
wanna,
gonna have regular public comment besides the,
Yeah, because it is an actual meeting.
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, then I'll call for public comment.
We have to go out of public hearing first.
well, we're in, yeah.
So
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can do that at
Let's
the end.
continue
Okay.
into the public hearing.
I'm just going to read here real quick for public comment periods and public hearings. Public comment periods and public hearings are an opportunity for members of the public to inform Houston County governing bodies about their views. Houston County can establish specific periods of public comment and set time limits on speaking opportunities. These guidelines help maintain order, ensure efficiency, and allow for maximum public participation. Houston County guidelines are below. Speakers should sign in each meeting, sign the sheet near the entrance. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes per comment period. A timer will be visible to indicate when each speaker's time is up. Speakers should speak into the microphone when it is their time to speak. Speakers should state their name and where they are from. Speakers may not give their time to other people. Only one person should address the board at a time. Comments should be directed to the governing body or chair. Public comment is for receiving input, not for dialogue, debate, or question and answer with the Board of Commission. People do not have a right to disrupt the meeting or make vulgar or inappropriate comments or gestures. Speakers and the governing body should be respectful of each other.
ready to start?
Yep.
Anybody like to be the first one?
Okay, my name is Clayton Johnson. I'm from Black Hammer Township, and I guess my question is why? Why do we are even considering using rifles? Myself and Dan Vesterse went to the Capitol back in May and asked the initial author of the bill, Steve Driscollowski, why? Why do we even need a rifle? There's going to be plenty of people here today that are going to talk about the length of the seasons and that kind of stuff and the opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity to shoot deer. But what I want to talk about is when we question Steve Driscollowski on, why do we need rifles in southern Minnesota? He only had two answers. Two. The first one being that this is a law that dates back from 1942, I believe. 1940, 1942. It's an antiquated law, and it's time to go. Greg David's comment to that was, well, the Bible's older than 1940. Should we get rid of that too? So that's ridiculous reason number one. Ridiculous reason number two, in my opinion, is he said that deer need to be killed. Okay? So I'd like to know, yeah, that's what he said. Deer need to be killed. That come right from the author of the bill. And it was in the outdoor newspaper as well. And so deer need to be killed. Well, I myself, and probably the vast majority of the people here, I'm not a deer killer, I'm a deer hunter, okay? I'm not out there just to squeeze the damn trigger. And there was this Pennsylvania study that he referenced that makes supposedly a shotgun is more dangerous than a rifle. Well, I know all the commissioners have a copy of that report. It's a 70-some page report, and I challenge everybody here to read it. And the conclusion, when you read the conclusion at the very end of it, obviously, it states that a rifle is more dangerous than a shotgun. Now, I have killed caribou up at the Arctic Circle at 400 yards. I've shot rams down on the Mexican border at 380 yards. And I've shot mule deer in between at 510 yards. And I shot a grizzly bear, Boone and Crockett grizzly bear, up in Alaska at 125 yards. No, I didn't want to get any closer than 125 yards to a grizzly bear. But my point of that is, if a shotgun goes further than a rifle, why didn't I bring a shotgun? I took my 7mm mag because it goes a heck of a lot further. And so I'd appreciate it if the commissioners would vote to maintain Houston County as a shotgun zone. And for me, it's a safety issue. And thank you very much.
The mic shut off?
We can hear that they're in front of us.
Test, test.
Nope.
Test, test.
Yeah, that works.
That works.
We got plenty of them. You need one?
Can you hear me all right?
Yep,
Through the speaker? Okay.
we can. I don't know about them. Can everybody hear in the back?
Well, I'm Charlie Ray from Caledonia, and I'm sure everybody in this room would be real responsible with a rifle deer hunting, but I know there's a lot of people outside this room that get pretty excited when they see a deer. And if they start unloading their guns in an open field, it's dangerous for other hunters, it's dangerous for people working in the field, it's dangerous for people sitting in the house. So I'm against having rifle hunting in Houston County.
Come on up.
Yeah, just raise your hands if you guys want to come up and speak, so.
I'm Bob Burns, 1106 Courtney Drive, Caledonia. I talked to you guys at a board meeting with my opinions, and now I'll give them here. My thoughts on allowing rifles for deer hunting in Houston County: I'm not in favor of allowing the rifles for deer hunting because it can include danger, increased danger for the hunters and the public because of stray bullets in the distance. The rifle bullets can travel much farther than a shotgun slug. And because of the distance, they can shoot across spaces. So it's more likely somebody will get excited and take a shot at a big buck way off in the distance. Houston County has a larger rural population than northern Minnesota. Our cities are closer. Unincorporated villages and the 1 per quarter rule puts a lot more people in the rural district. Pastured livestock could be more likely misidentified at distance. And we don't need rifles with clips that can hold large numbers of bullets. Seems to me that the deer kill in the county is plenty good using shotguns. Now, I understand that rifles are already in use hunting squirrels, coyotes, fox, and other critters, but there are much fewer numbers of hunters doing that at any given time. Thank you.
Steve Bauer, Caledonia. My main issue is safety. It always has been. I believe rifles will go 3 and 4 times further than any shotgun will. And with all the homes and small acreages out in the county, I think there's definitely room. There's not room to have rifles. Our shotguns can go 150, 200 yards. Rifles a lot further than that. So I would ask the commissioners when they vote to remember that. Thank you.
All right. We'll give this a round 2. Is this on? There it goes.
That's working.
I'm Dan Vestersee from Spring Grove, 55 years old, and I've owned land in Houston County for 30 years. And I apologize, you guys heard this on January 6th, but the general public, I guess, hasn't. I've been deer hunting in Minnesota for 43 years with shotgun and archery, and approximately 20 years with muzzleloader. And growing up, I wondered several times why rifles weren't allowed in our area. In 1989, when I was 19, my dad and I were out hunting and got checked by the game wardens at the time, Larry Webinger and Dan Book. After checking our licenses and guns, we all visited for a while on the side of the road. I asked Warden Dan Book why rifles were not allowed in this area, and his answer was, it's a safety issue. And he also talked about the rolling terrain, the topography, and it's not safe to shoot a rifle. You don't know who's over the hill, and the acreages are also small around here. So right after that hunting season, I enlisted in the U.S. Army to be a combat engineer. I was stationed with the 101st Airborne in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we ended up going to the Persian Gulf for Operation Desert Storm. When the ground war started, we were the farthest U.S. troops up into Iraq, and we were up 155 miles up into the Euphrates River Valley, where we got in a firefight around 1 to 2 a.m. one morning. We had roughly 35 guys, they had about 7 guys, and we were using mostly M16s. And when you load your magazine for combat, every 5th round is a tracer round, so you can see where your bullet's being fired at night. And anyway, our side was shooting, their side was shooting back, and the amount of ricocheting was incredible. And no one around here realizes that happens because, you're not out shooting at night and you don't have a tracer round. And also what you have to take into account in that instance was only 1 out of every 5 rounds is a tracer, so we were only seeing 20% of the ricochets. And obviously a person deer hunting, like I said, is not going to see that. So later, when I thought about rifles for deer hunting, I realized what Warden Dan Book had told me was spot on, that they really aren't safe. And as a side note, an M16 is a 5.56 millimeter caliber weapon, basically a .223, which would be a legal caliber if this vote is approved. They would be legal along with a multitude of other Wildcat calibers and rifles that are even faster than those mentioned. So I think it would be much safer for all hunters and the public if we keep it as is, and I would respectfully ask that you vote no for allowing rifles in Houston County. Thank you.
First come, first serve.
That'd be fast.
Hi, my name is Kay Cross, and I'm from Spring Grove. I am not a hunter. I am here with a concern for safety and a concern for fair chase. Because I'm not a hunter, I did some research today and looked up some things so that I could speak somewhat in an educated fashion to you. I looked up sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is a commitment to fair play, ethical behavior, and integrity, and general goodwill towards an opponent. I looked further at Boone and Crockett Club guidelines. Fair chase guidelines mention unfair advantage. They define unfair advantage as when game does not have a reasonable chance of escape. It also mentions that a hunter knows his or her limitations and stretches the stalk, not the shot. Babe Ruth said, if you win through bad sportsmanship, that's no real victory. I would take that sentiment a little further to say that accidents, due to not having positive target ID, can be life-altering and certainly are not sporting. A few examples that I found today were a 17-year-old mistaken for a squirrel, a teenager mistaken for a deer, a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 12-year-old. They did not have a reasonable chance of escape. Nor did the 9 and 11-year-old shot by their father, or the 6-year-old shot by a 17-year-old, or the 12-year-old shot by their uncle, or the 17-year-old shot by his 16-year-old friend. These accidents all happened without high-powered rifles. They happened under normal situations with faulty target ID Careless, yes, and fatal. Adding distance and speed to a long shot will absolutely increase the margin for error. This possibility scares me beyond measure. I am not addressing ricochet, rocks, water, or any other hard surface between that long distance, or faulty scopes, or loose screws, or barrels that are compromised, or any other myriad of things that could go wrong in a shot. Lethal accidents take a moment to forever change lives. The risk is too great, and that is no victory at all. And I ask you to respectfully vote no.
My name is Mike Sieve. I'm from Yucatan Township, and I started hunting deer in southeast Minnesota about 1990 or so. And at that time, there was a 9-day season followed by a 7-day season. Since then, we've added another 2 days, so we make the two firearm seasons 18 days. We've added 4 days of youth season. We've added 16 days of muzzleloader, and we've got CWD kills. That adds up to over 40 days. Now, in that time, we've put muzzleloader. We had a muzzleloader season. Now we've got scopes on muzzleloaders. We've got crossbows available to everyone. We're looking at hunters with trail cameras, and they even have real-time trail cameras so they can watch what's in their field from the safety of home. We've got food plots, we've got tower stands. We keep adding more and more things that put pressure on deer. I'm addressing sportsmanship. The results of this pressure, in my opinion, are lower hunter skills. I don't see the hunters out there with the skills of some of the past, and there are people here who have hunted a very long time, and they really know the woods, and they know the deer. When we put emphasis on long-range shooting, I think we're going against that. Right now, we've got rifles that off the shelf will shoot 1,000 yards. We've got ARs coming out there. We've got crossbows that some guys will shoot 50 or 60 yards and even farther. My point is, when are we going to do something for the deer? It's always about making hunters more efficient, killing more. And I think it's time we stand for more sportsmanship and more woodsmanship. And with that, I would respectfully ask you to decline to allow hunters in this county. Thank you.
My name is Marissa Pearson, and I live in Caledonia. I do not support allowing rifles to be used to harvest deer. My concern is for the safety of all those in our county, in their homes, the fields, and the woods. My concern is for the safety of my family and my son. Hunters already have the tools to easily harvest deer at ranges upwards of 250 yards. That's already a long distance. How well can you see beyond your target at ranges further than that? It gets more difficult to safely identify your target and what is beyond as ranges increase. Not everyone carries binoculars, and not everyone takes the time to scan beyond their target when it's slipping away. Extending those ranges decreases safety. I don't recall a hunter ever telling me that they went an entire season without filling their tag because they didn't have a gun capable of shooting 400 yards. If rifles that shoot 400 yards are needed to harvest deer, how do archery hunters fill their tags when they have ranges around 40 yards? Archery hunters are already successful harvesting many deer, as well as the shotgun hunters. The only advantage a rifle offers over what we have now is the ability to shoot further and faster. How does shooting further and faster rate of speed improve safety? It doesn't. Bullets that shoot further, bullets that ricochet more easily and travel many times further than any shotgun slug would if they do ricochet, does not improve safety. Bullets that more often than not pass through the deer and continue to travel hundreds of yards at still lethal velocities also decreases safety. Semi-auto rifles that can fire 3 shots in the same amount of time a shotgun would only fire 1 does not increase safety. Our youth hunters go into the woods often alone at 14 years old. Youth that may now be going into the woods alone for the first time with AR-15s rather than traditional pump-action shotguns. Even those well-trained youth, responsible youth, those added dangers and added responsibilities that come with handling semi-automatic rifles does not increase safety. I want everyone to enjoy deer hunting as safely as possible, and I want my son to be safe. I want my family, friends, neighbors, and everyone who isn't involved with hunting to be safe. I do not feel comfortable sending my son into the woods with all those added dangers of rifles. Dangers that increase with rifles, even though rifles don't provide any responsible or ethical benefits over the shotguns and muzzleloaders we already have. Hunter numbers are already declining for a variety of reasons. Adding rifles to the mix does not help increase these numbers. More than likely, it produces the opposite result. Has anyone heard a single person say that they will not continue to hunt deer if rifles are not allowed? Do these people actually say that they will no longer participate in the firearm season because they can't use a rifle? I have never heard anyone say that. Continuing as a shotgun-only zone will not cause a drop in hunter participation, but there are people who will no longer participate in the hunt due to rifles, and that is real. That is something that people are actually saying. These added safety concerns will lead to more parents and grandparents not allowing the next generation to hunt, and fewer hunters will mean fewer deer harvested, and that is real. Thank you.
My name is Bob Robiak from Houston Township. My concern is safety. If and when there's a negative event involving a high-powered rifle in this county, who are the people going to look at when that happens? You folks had the option to opt out of the high-powered rifle season for deer hunting. It's all in your hands. Thank you.
My name's Steve Kearns, live in Caledonia Township. My background, I originally came from Wapaka County over in Wisconsin. We started off with a shotgun-only zone. We weren't allowed to use rifles for deer hunting. That changed about the time I turned 14, so I started hunting with a shotgun and then switched over to rifles. I'd like to speak up in favor of allowing rifles to be used in Houston County, and here's my rationale. Originally, this law was put in place about the same time Wisconsin had the law put in place, and it was based on hunter efficacy, how effective hunters are at taking game, and designed to help rebound the deer herd. There were no additional incidents or issues in Wapaka County after allowing rifles. That data is quantifiable. You can go and look at the Wisconsin DNR website, and you can see hunting incident reports, accidents, fatalities, and all that data the same way that Minnesota categorizes those items. And when you look at those numbers, there is no measurable increase in the issues that are created. Someone earlier referenced the Pennsylvania study. I think when you compare that study to what people would use around here, it is good information, but it's anecdotal. Pennsylvania study talks about a 12-gauge shotgun slug, compares that to a 30-06 150 grain rifle round at a specified velocity, and a 50 caliber muzzleloader slug. If you change around some of those components, that study could be manipulated one way or the other to show either a bias for or against shotgun. It really depends on the individual issue. The purpose that I have speaking here is I want my daughter to eventually be able to use a small 6mm arc round as opposed to a 20-gauge shotgun round. 6mm arc fires a 105 grain bullet, and the way that I teach her, that's not going to go over the hill as opposed to a shotgun round. When you look at the external ballistics and terminal ballistics of shotgun rounds versus rifle rounds, the potential for skip or inadvertent impacts, there are a number of things that are taken into account, but the size of the projectile is one of the main factors, and as well as the shape, the ballistic ogive, or the characteristics of that projectile. Shotgun rounds do have more of a tendency to skip at large because of the shape of that projectile. It is more like a round ball. There are already squirrel hunters that are shooting squirrels in trees, and if you look at the back of any .22 long rifle box, it says, this goes up to 2 miles. But we don't hear a lot of complaints about 22 rounds dropping on houses. Ultimately, it comes down to personal responsibility, and that's what I push. That's what I teach my family and my daughter, is you are responsible for sending that round, and you cannot pull it back. So if we don't have the shot, we don't take the shot. That's something that's preached in hunter safety and something that, frankly, I think we need a little bit more of. I'd urge you to allow hunting with rifles. I understand the safety concerns, but I think ultimately when you look at the data and you have informed conversations about what the ballistics are, I think that it is not presenting a safety issue. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Carol Sweeney Marnock, and I live in Brownsville Township. And I spoke to the group last fall. I am opposed to rifles in Houston County. My family hunts, which is what I said last fall. My biggest concern is public safety. A huge concern I have on our farm is that there's a 40-acre parcel to the west of my place. My kids hunt on one side of the fence, and somebody else down the gut, 400 yards from my kid with a rifle could cause a serious problem someday. I have family members, cousins, who hunt over in Wisconsin with rifles, okay? The concern or the data that's there that says that the accidents aren't there, well, you know, things are reported and the data is distributed, but I have to think that there are a lot of close calls out there with any kind of a weapon. But I do not want to see rifles. If rifles are allowed in this county, I'm going to tell my family, you're not hunting with rifles at our farm. You're staying with shotguns. And there might be other farm owners who allow hunters out there who will not permit rifles. And you may have people in this county who depend upon landowners for their hunting, and they don't get to do it anymore because people are concerned about the risk factor of the rifle. So I humbly ask you to vote no to rifles in Houston County. Thank you.
I got one comment on.
I'm Dean Ellingson from Spring Grove, and I guess I'm in a minority here. I look forward to deer hunting with a rifle. Most hunters now on private land hunt from elevated stands. They're aiming downward at a deer that is relaxed and standing still, a much safer and more accurate shot with less chance of the bullet leaving the area. You can now hunt with a gun for 19 days, I think it was 19, legally in Minnesota, and shoot at least 5 deer. The DNR wants more deer killed. Houston County is overpopulated with deer, and rifles are much more efficient. My bolt action 20 gauge will shoot a 2.5 to 3 inch group at 100 yards and costs $4.50 a shell. My 30-06 shoots a 2 inch group at 300 yards at a cost of $2.10 a shot. Hunters don't have to use a rifle. If you allow rifle hunting, they can still use a shotgun, especially for driving woods, or if you're hunting in woods where you're close, you'd probably want a shotgun. 30-06 sighted in at 200 yards will drop, if you're elevating it enough, it'll drop 20 feet at less than half a mile. So you don't have to worry about that bullet carrying very far unless you're shooting up over a hill, which you should never do no matter what kind of gun you're shooting. That's all I got. Thanks.
I feel a little gun here, but I'm John Meyer. I'm with the Gopher State Sportsman's Club in La Crescent, and our club endorses the use of high-powered rifles for the 26th season. That's all I got to say, and we're 200 members strong.
Hello, my name is Gary Van Dalman. I've been deer hunting for 50 years, 30 of those years in Wisconsin, 20 years here happily in Minnesota. I'm a retired business attorney, and I own a farm that overlooks Hoka. I submitted some written comments, so I won't go through those in detail because I think you have those. I just want to make a couple of points. that are also in those written comments. The original law that was done in 1942, we were just coming off the Great Depression, we were in World War II. The concern then was we weren't going to have any deer left. A deer tastes good today, it tasted even better then, and when your family didn't have food, that was a way to provide food. At the time, Minnesota was only getting about 50,000 deer a year statewide. Right now we're at 5 times that. So it was a herd management tool, it wasn't a safety tool, it was never put in place for safety to begin with. We talked about safety tonight and safety, what statistics are out there. We also have the legislature here, when they looked at this, and the DNR had the Wisconsin experience. In Wisconsin, and one gentleman talked about that, but they went and looked at all hunting accident data from 1998 to 2007, every hunting accident that happened in Wisconsin. And their conclusion was that shotguns were actually involved in more accidents relative to their use, meaning the numbers proportional to rifles, than rifles were. So shotguns were involved in more accidents. We've gone since 2013, and there's no increase in the number of accidents in Wisconsin. And I would contend Vernon County, La Crosse County, Buffalo County, Trempealeau County are very much terrain-like, population-like, deer-like what we have here in Houston County. Some mention was made of the Pennsylvania study, so I'll talk about that for a second. It was Mountaintop Technologies with the assistance of U.S. Army researchers, and Mountaintop has been hired by U.S. Naval Research and by the Department of Defense and the Department of Justice. So I think they did a good job of finding who they wanted to help them. They looked at every accident that happened in Pennsylvania from 1997 to 2003. And their conclusion was that a hunter, this is a quote, a hunter firing a 12-gauge shotgun with a rifle barrel and a 50 caliber saboted slug on a deer on level terrain is riskier than a hunter firing a 30-06 with a 150 grain bullet. And the reason has to do with ricochets. If you were just standing back saying somebody's 400 yards away and you're shooting at a level playing field, I would agree a rifle would be more dangerous, because if the person's not paying attention to where they're shooting, which is rule number 1. But in any other circumstance from 200 yards in, the shotgun is more dangerous than the rifle. The last thing I want to point out, because I'm running out of time, is 70 to 80% of all the land in Houston County and in Minnesota in general is owned by private people. Today they make decisions about, can you ride an ATV on there, can you deer hunt on there, can you use a crossbow, can you use a shotgun? They could always make the decision on their own private land, no rifles, without impeding the other people. And we have so many deer here, my concern is the same as the legislatures. We have to find a way to cut the population of the deer down. If we don't, we're going to have a lot of car accidents, we're going to have CWD, and
Time's up.
all the other problems that come with too many deer. Thank you. I think you can tell I'm in favor of allowing it.
Anybody else would like to speak?
My name's Robert Peterson. I have a farm over by Spring Grove. I've been using a rifle caliber in Houston County for 20 years. Anybody can use them. It's just got to be in a pistol. There's no difference in the cartridge. Size of the barrel goes the same distance. It's a little bit slower. I do not see the problem with using a rifle.
Name is Bruce Lee. Live in Crystal Valley. I've got 400 acres there. I wouldn't mind people hunting on my farm with a rifle. I think it'd be fine. But we got to get a handle on these deer. We have so many. And something's going to have to be done, or we're going to have a disease issue here. I've said enough. Thanks.
Just a second, let me get my glasses out.
I usually start it after you say who you are, where you're from.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. My name is Steve Hartwick. I've lived for 50 years in Money Creek Township, and I've been a hunter for decades.
I live on a small farm bordered on two sides by state land. And I don't know who is in there hunting during the deer season because it's state land. My house is 40 yards as the bullet flies from the state land. With projectile size and velocity of bullets, it's less likely to hit and tumble as it goes through the range. The range is larger than it is with a shotgun slug. They're more likely to be using a scope with a rifle than people do with a shotgun with the slugs. And so they have a kind of a more limited field of view when they're looking through that scope as to what's around and what's behind. They're more focused on what's in the scope. Now, every hunter's supposed to act responsibly, but if everybody did, we wouldn't have game wardens. The Root River goes all the way through Houston County, and there's eagles up and down the river. And when you leave a gut pile there, there's a more likely, with the bullets that break apart much more than a slug does, that you're going to end up poisoning those eagles. And so I'm against it. Thank you.
I need that. You're raising your hand to speak.
Can't see it, or-
Oops. My name is Tom Harnack. I have 40 acres of land near Sheldon Township. As a family, we hunt deer. In the last number of years, there's been a lot of new residents that have been built around the perimeter of the property lines. Shotguns with slugs can carry far enough, but with rifles, it increases the range. I'm quite concerned that with the additional range and a bad judgment that homes, buildings, livestock, humans might be in harm's way. Unfortunately, not all hunters are safe hunters. Near our property in Sheldon Township, there's 85 acres of state land. The state land is on the same level as all these new residences and everything else. I think that not knowing how those hunters are, if they have safety in mind, that you need to not allow rifles in Houston County. Thank you.
Can you repeat your name?
Tom Harnack. Harnack.
My name is Roger Pearson from Caledonia, and I am not a public speaker, so if I tip over. But my grandpa's, when I was a young kid, got shot with a rifle in Wisconsin when he was deer hunting. Never did find out who shot him, because they travel so far and everything else. A lot of what I've heard sounds like they're talking, we got to get rid of deer. And maybe, but look at the opportunity we've got. How many deer can each person take now? How is a rifle going to make that increase? I can't see it, because I think you're going to have less people hunting. Because they're not going to want, as people have said, they're not going to want their kids or family or other people, or even more so, not let them go on their property, because they don't want that added danger. So I'd like to go on record and say I really don't want it. And like I said, my grandpa got shot. It can happen with a good shotgun too. I'm not going to say it can't, but they just go so much farther. There's so much. And then throw into the, and now I'm going to start talking, so. Thank you. Just so I'm old, that's all.
This is a very informal meeting, so anybody can.
Relax.
Anybody can come up and talk and we'll.
You all know who I am. Luke Onsted, Houston County. I know a lot of people are talking about the distance and everything, and so I was kind of curious. I have 40 acres, and if you go on Beacon, anybody can do it. There's a feature on there where you can put a mark and then do a distance from it. So I went on there and in the middle of my property put a mark, and a shotgun, you know, most shotguns 200 yards is pretty much a basic shot. That basically covered one of my main fields and some of my woods. And then I went on and did the same with the most common rifles like a 223, a 30-06, a 6 millimeter, 7 millimeter, things like that. And with the shotgun, the slug would not leave my property if I took a shot at a deer. With a 30-06, that rifle, if I missed that deer, I would potentially cover 58 parcels besides my own. 28 residences would be within that distance of a 30-06 bullet, which is, you know, roughly 1,000 yards is what I used for travel. 30 different tree stands that I know of that people have in around me, they would be within range of that rifle shot. And I live mid-hill, so when I'm shooting at a deer, not necessarily I'm shooting out the hill, but I am in the middle of the hill, so my bullet is going to travel farther if I miss, because I'm not down in a valley, I'm up towards the top. And if people are on the top, their bullet's going to go even farther if they miss. And I've heard a lot of people say about, you know, we need to kill more deer, increase deer harvest. Well, from 2024 to 2025 in Houston County, we had a 9% increase in deer harvested. And that's with shotguns, crossbows, archery. Archery had the largest increase in history, which was 8% increase over in 1 year of archery kill. And archery kill is not a 500-yard shot. It's, you know, if you're really good, maybe 60 yards. So that's kind of my biggest thing. And a lot of things, you know, you talk to people up north, their biggest complaint is, we don't see any deer. We don't have any deer. So they all come down here and hunt. So that's a big draw, too, for Houston County, is people coming from up north because they've killed all their deer. They come down here and want to hunt. So we're doing just fine with shotguns. We're increasing harvest every year. Over the last 5 years, we're 11% increase in the harvest with shotguns in Houston County. I don't know that rifles are going to make any difference other than potentially hurt somebody. So, thanks.
Hello. I'm in favor of the rifle season myself. Joe Hartley from Caledonia. Joe Hartley.
Thank you.
I hunt on my son's land in Hoka, and I'll never shoot a rifle because my food plot is 68 yards from one end to the other. But we also have areas where you can shoot 200-300 yards up on the point, up on the ridge. I understand people that don't want rifles because they're afraid of them. But you can legislate that yourself. Don't allow anybody on your land to use them. But don't tell other people they can't. And that's the biggest thing that we got to get over the fear factor. That's all I have to say.
Good evening. I am in favor of rifles, but Alan Klug. I'd rather see it go follow in Iowa with a straight line cartridge, maybe a 30-30 carbine, blunt nose. We don't need high power. We don't need ARs. We don't need some idiot trying to shoot from ridge to ridge. Shotguns are fine, if you don't mind tearing up your arms. Kids don't need to be shooting shotguns. They could be shooting a 300 blackout just as easy. Low power. Simple. Iowa doesn't have any problems. We wouldn't either. Thank you.
Name's Jeff Halverson, Blackhammer Township resident, lifetime Houston County deer hunter, as is my family. I see ample opportunity now to shoot deer with regulations and seasons that have been in place. Strongly opposed to rifle hunting. Don't see a need. This isn't the big north woods of the north. It isn't the open plains of the west. It's steep bluffs, deep valleys, open ridge tops. Topography here I don't think is conducive to rifle hunting, so would ask you to vote against rifle hunting in Houston County. Thank you.
My name's Mark Munson. I'm from Wilmington Township. I've been a firearm safety instructor for 47 years. I'm a graduate of the Colorado School of Trades. I know a little bit what I'm talking about. For one thing, folks are saying Minnesotans are a little slow because we're the only state in the Midwest that doesn't allow some form of rifle hunting, finally. Even your eastern states like Massachusetts and Connecticut that are densely populated use rifles. I believe I mentioned before that according to Major General Julian S. Hatcher of Hatcher's Notebook fame, basically the shooter's Bible, it takes a 30 caliber slug or larger to come down and cause great bodily damage. Your 12 gauge slug is 73 caliber, more than twice as much. 20 gauge slug is 52 caliber. So they're a lot more dangerous. For one thing, with shotguns, I've helped my 4 sons and several neighbor kids trying to zero in a gun. That wallop from a 12 or a 20 gauge is too much for them. If they could use the 300 Blackout or a 243, which would be much better, that would much less kick. They wouldn't have the flinch. And besides that, the law says they have to be with arm's reach of somebody when they're 12 and 13. Then if you allow them, the law says you can, they can hunt alone at 14. But that's up to the parent. You know, you can keep them next to you till they're 16. The smartest thing from my point of view, if you're gonna make any kind of restrictions, restrict it to 24 to 28 caliber. 30 caliber slug and larger will cause great bodily harm. 223, that's a legal cartridge, but if you override that, a lot of coyote hunters will say that a 223, the M16 round, isn't enough for a coyote, much less a deer. 24 to 28 caliber would reflect quite the wisdom if you allowed that. I asked the regional training officer many years ago about why we couldn't use rifles, and he said, you know, that's funny, in northwestern Minnesota, North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota went ahead and did a study, and they found no significant difference. And La Crosse County is a whole lot more populated. But I guess I'm out of time, and thank you.
I'm sure there's more that would like to speak. Come forward.
John Moser, Caledonia Township. People know me as Jake. 4 words. Ain't broke, don't fix it.
My name is Kevin Bowman. I'm from Caledonia. Firearm safety here in firearm safety instructor here in Caledonia. I just want to speak on a few things that have already been mentioned here. As far as the range of rifles and safety goes, One of the 4 main rules that we teach in firearm safety is knowing your target and beyond. So regardless of whether it's a shotgun, a rifle for deer hunting, or it could even be a .22 for squirrel hunting, it's the responsibility of the hunter to know their target and beyond. So it comes down to, in my opinion, more of a training issue than it is the weapon being used. One thing we lay out in the beginning of our firearm safety classes is that we give the ground education, ground rules for the young hunters that come through. It's really up to the parents and or the guardians to further train those young students as to ethical hunting and safe hunting. So it's as much, it is as important as, it's as important that the parents and guardians teach those students and other hunters, even if they're not super young hunters, to make ethical shots and safe shots. Some people have spoken about the distance that rifles can travel. Keep in mind that gravity still has an effect. You know, if we talk about a bullet traveling 58 parcels across, you know, maybe that's if you're aiming that rifle at 45 degrees, so that's optimal distance for that bullet to travel. If you're aiming at a deer that's, say, 300 yards away, that bullet is not going to travel 58 parcels. It's going to drop because of gravity before it gets there, okay? Some lead poisoning was spoken of earlier. I want to make the point that there are more options for rifle rounds that have non-lead components. So as far as lead poisoning in animals goes, or lead poisoning in the meat that we consume ourselves, we have more options to choose lead-free ammunition with rifles. As far as the deer herd numbers, there are many wildlife biologists with the DNR that have much more education than we do as far as controlling the population numbers. If we're concerned about shooting more or less deer, they will take care of that, whether or not we shoot rifles or not. And the last thing I want to speak of is need versus opportunity. A lot of people have spoken how we don't need rifles, and I would agree, we don't need rifles. However, it's an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity for the future. There's been people that have spoken about recoil, rifles versus shotguns. I think we can get more young kids into the sport of deer hunting if we use lower recoil rifles. There's also the opportunity to use suppressors, which this hasn't been brought up yet today, but suppressors do protect your hearing, and I think that's part of the future of hunting. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Anybody else for comment?
Oh, he's already spoke.
Well, I said seconds. Again, Mark Munson, firearm safety instructor. I read an article, an old article from Michigan, and they were hunting in the Upper Peninsula, and this was in the early 1950s. And they said, hey, we had a really good, safe weekend. We only had 52 deaths this weekend. And I've been getting, as an instructor, a lot of the reports of the accidents, deaths, and whatever. Several years now, we have had no deaths in the state of Minnesota. What it all boils down to is the person pulling the trigger, making sure they're not shooting over a hill, there's nothing behind, and that's something we've taught for, oh boy, I don't know how many years now in Minnesota, and it's made an effect. Hunters are much safer nowadays. You could equate it to driving. You know, most people drive nice, and then you see that jerk that runs a stop sign or goes roaring by you. There again, it all boils down to the person that's out there. Thank you.
Well, we did, so you're up next. It's extra minutes, I guess.
So, this is kind of on the fly rules. You get 1 minute for a second.
I just thought I'd go for it. So a lot of the guys here talked about safety and personal safety, and I totally agree. There are some really safe hunters out there. But who are the unsafe ones and how many are they and where are they from? We have no idea.
Is there any first-time speakers? And just also let you know, there will be another public hearing, so if you want to get another comment in, there will be another public hearing, so just go ahead and throw that out there as well.
Well, I wanted to make the comment, La Crosse County is a lot like Houston County in terms of steepness. And they have like 4 times the number of people. They're 120,000. We have 19,000 people. And I guess really that covers what I needed to say.
What's your name?
Bruce Lee. We got this gentleman coming here. Hang on.
Terry Schultz.
Are you a first timer or second?
First timer.
Okay. I just want to make sure you hit the right time.
First timer. Yeah, I'm from Caledonia here. I've been hunting since I was 13. When we used to have 3-day hunting seasons, and a lot more people got killed because of that. And when they spread it out, they started with so many days at the beginning of the month, and they went the whole month of November, but you could only pick certain days. And that helped with safety. My concern about rifles is people from the cities coming down here hunting that don't know the area, don't know where the buildings are, and don't know who else is out there hunting near them. Because I see a lot of that. And everybody says it's overpopulation of deer. That's because we got so many people that buy land and trophy hunt and don't shoot the does. They just out there for the rack, probably don't even eat the meat. And if a lot of places they'll buy land, won't let anybody else hunt in there but themselves. They shoot maybe 1 deer a year, and the population's just building up. And I think probably should have been more farmers here, because I think their concern is with this whole month of hunting, they're bothered all the time. And a lot of them are getting sick of it. And that's going to cut down your hunting. Thank you.
Hello, Christopher Bierke, Spring Grove address, Caledonia Township, Houston phone number, so put down whatever you want. I'm not sure where I should go. So I wasn't going to comment, and I really don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. I switched to handguns a long time ago. I just prefer them. I enjoy them. I think they're fun. However, my initial thought would be, yes, rifles are more dangerous. They travel farther. In doing some research and hearing what people said today, that may or may not be true, and I certainly wouldn't want to increase the danger factor ever. But also, I do think that shotguns are pretty crude tools, and I do think that they are a barrier to new hunters and to smaller hunters. The recoil is so vicious compared to a rifle that would be much more effective on the deer as well, that I've had a lot of young kids get their first deer on my property, a whole bunch, and I basically tailor the load specifically with the muzzle loader in order to give them a good experience that's not so violent, So I would just say, I'm not going to tell you which way to vote because I don't really know what would be best, and I wouldn't want to increase the danger factor, but I would like to throw out the straight wall cartridge suggestion. And I want to say that before the next meeting in case it's something that can be a topic, because they don't have any more range than a 12-gauge rifled slug does. And so I can't think of any reason why at least that wouldn't be something that wouldn't increase the danger factor, but would increase the accessibility and the enjoyment of shooting. I don't know anybody that enjoys shooting slugs. I mean, you have to sight it in, but it's not. I'd shoot my 300 Win Mag all day long before I'd go shoot a box of slugs, So, I don't know which way you should vote, but just wanted to throw that out there. And if it's population control, I do think you would get more hunters with rifles, even straight walls. You know, I just do think that is kind of a barrier, is that slug, shooting that slug. And then also, if we really want population control, you're right, trophy hunting has changed it. I like to trophy hunt too, but I also shoot a lot of does, and I think that earn a buck, if you kind of look at the history of where they've tried it, has really been the only thing that's ever worked for population control. So make everybody shoot a doe before they're allowed to shoot a buck, and I think that'd be a better option for population, but
Is the DNR here tonight?
I don't know.
Good suggestion.
Anyway, I'll let my 30 seconds go. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
So back again. Whatever we can do, and if you look at the average age in the room here, a lot of deer hunters in here, we're elder hunters. So the problem that we've got, I think, is there's a lot less hunters. Wisconsin recently said that by the year 2040, they're expecting to have 150,000 less deer hunters than they have today. Whatever we can do to attract and recruit and retain people that want to deer hunt here in Minnesota, I think helps us when it comes to, I'm talking about herd management, which is what the DNR is looking at. My family all comes over from Wisconsin to hunt with me. 4 guys come over. They happily pay $185 for a license. All that money goes to the state of Minnesota to manage the deer herd. While they're here, they eat in our restaurants. They sleep in my house, but they'd be in a hotel otherwise. They're spending money here, and fortunately for them, they've been getting deer while they're here. So they reduce the population. They're good for the economy. They're not causing accidents. They don't like using shotguns, and they'd rather come here with rifles. And if we can get more people from Wisconsin and other states coming here because we have rifles, I think that would be a good thing.
Anybody else for comment?
I got a second comment quick. Jeff Halverson with Black Hammer Township. I just want to say I've got a nephew just turned 12, looking forward to his first time hunting next season. He looks forward to every chance he gets to shoot that 20 gauge to get ready for deer hunting next year. He has no interest in shooting a rifle. So I don't see shotgun being a deterrent to youth. It's the video games and the devices that are keeping them away from it. So.
Hey, babe, yep. Come forward. Don't be shy. Come on in.
Bruce Hoytinker from Caledonia. I have shotguns at home, probably 6, 12 gauges that I use, and every one of them has a piece of yellow tape on the stock that tells me 6 inches left, 6 inches high, because it's a bird barrel. You know, I don't have a rifle barrel or anything, so just maybe a subsonic round would be safer than a high, a big cartridge or whatever, but I think a rifle for me would be more accurate than the shotguns that I already have. So I'm in favor.
Anybody else?
Got a young man here.
Hi, my name's Christian Bierke from Spring Grove. I just want to throw out, I'm looking forward to rifles. I hope they do get passed. And I got a lot of friends who hunt. Hunting's kind of my favorite thing to do. And I don't know a single young hunter, at least from my school, that is hoping this doesn't pass. Everyone's looking forward to rifles. I use a muzzleloader personally. I like the ballistics a little better and they kick less, but all my buddies, they use 12 gauges, and not to knock on them, but most of them can't shoot worth a crap. So I like to call them lead lobbers. They just, chuck bullets at them, which isn't great. It's not a good way of hunting, but it's the way a lot of people hunt. It's one of the things I like about a muzzleloader. You only get one shot, but I think a rifle would help a lot of them out. I think it's better, more accurate. They do a little bit more damage. They take down the deer a little cleaner. Even a gut shot with the rifle is, usually a kill, even if you got to track it a little more, but that's part of hunting. But I just want to throw out that all my buddies and most of the young hunters I know are looking forward to using rifles. And they're not exactly represented in the room, but, what teenager wants to come to a town hall meeting. No, not mean to throw any shade.
I don't blame them.
We get that.
Any other comments? Going once. Any comments? Going twice. All right. Oh,
Okay, we all done here, or do you wanna?
yeah. Board Chair, if you want to come out of public hearing.
Okay, somebody wanna make a motion to come out of public hearing? Make a motion to come out of public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to come out of the public hearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're out of public hearing, and we got a closing public comment. Anybody got one last chance?
So we do got a public comment section that pertains to something other than the rifles. If there's anything you want to address, since this was an official
I just
special
wanna-
meeting.
I would like to have a public comment. There's been brought up about having some restrictions on rifle and rifle rounds and stuff like that. Yep. There's been some talk about restrictions on if we were to allow rifle, you know, on some certain rounds and stuff like that. And I just want to make that clear that if we do that, the DNR will not enforce that. It'll be up to the sheriff department to enforce that. So it's either, you know, it'd be opt out or just leave it as is. So if we try to modify it any which way, the DNR said we will not enforce that. We will enforce the opt out to keep it shotgun only, but we will not enforce any modifications to the rule. So I just wanted so you guys know that.
Should we also talk about that this would have to be renewed every year? So once we make a decision, it's not a final decision for the next however long, or 20 years. It's actually, we can look at it every year.
It has to be looked at every year.
Yeah. It has to be reviewed in May, I believe.
No, you can come up here.
Does that mean you have to renew it every year either way?
Mhm.
So this will come up every year no matter how you vote?
Yes.
If you.
Well, if we vote.
Yeah, if the commission voted to opt out,
Yes.
that would have to get renewed every year. If the commission voted to just keep it as is, that just continues on.
To keep it as the law has stated it is now with rifle, so, because that is.
If it goes to rifle.
Yeah.
And we just said we're not gonna touch it, statewide rifle, that's just how it is. If we choose the other side to keep it shotgun only in Houston County, every single year, we will have to re-vote to keep it shotgun only. Does that make sense?
Or change it. Or change it. Yes.
You absolutely could opt out. Yes.
And just to be clear, we didn't make this law, all right? And as personally, I don't appreciate being put in this position to make this choice. It's above my pay grade for sure. So any other state requirement comes to pass down to the county here, we get a lot of them, let me tell you. We can't opt out of that, you know? So I'm a little perturbed at being put in this position, so.
Can I talk about the next public hearing? So also just to let everybody know, this is the first of 2 public hearings, so no actions taken tonight. So March 3rd, which is a Tuesday, March 3rd at 6 p.m., same place. There'll be a second public hearing. I do encourage you, if you did come here tonight and you kind of spoke your piece, if possible you have room for other people if they didn't make it, obviously you're more than welcome to come. But just to let you know that we will have a second public hearing March 3rd at 6 p.m. So again.
It's to be April, right?
It has to be done before the 1st of April.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be done before the 1st of April, I believe.
Yep, so one of their regular commission meetings in March would be the action, after the last public hearing in, March 3rd.
Any more public comment? Close it. Somebody wanna
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.